Call the regular City of Hoyt Lakes Council meeting for Tuesday, October 11th, 22 to order. Roll call, please.
Beauregard.
Here.
Grams.
Here.
Kramer.
Here.
Hop.
Here.
Zins.
Here. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to go through those items? If so, does somebody make a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion's made by Councilor Kramer. Is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Councilor Pop. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Reports from staff. City Administrator Lammy.
All right, I just have a couple things today. The first thing is I'm going to read a section of an article from the Ely Echo that probably will sound very familiar to everyone in the room. Ely council members were the first this week to approve a subsidy agreement aimed at keeping the area's ambulance service financially afloat. Without opposition, but amid some alarm, council members voted 6-0 Tuesday to provide $62,500 to the service. That's the city's share of a plan to help the service offset a projected $261,000 loss this year. Under the terms of a deal reached at an ambulance joint power session in late September, Ely and 3 other entities, Morris and Fall Lake Townships and Ely Bloomington Community Hospital, would cough up matching contributions of $62,500. Winton would be on the hook for $11,000 to bring the service back to break-even status for the year. So I just wanted to say, as we're going through our budgets, we are definitely not the only ambulance service in the area who are suffering financial losses. And I think that Ely area has a joint powers agreement in place, which may be the way we go, or we may go a special taxing district, but I think that to have Hoyt Lakes taxpayers solely on the hook for any deficits would be a grave concern to all members of this council, which I think that everyone here feels the same way. So I just wanted to point out that we're not the only ambulance service in this predicament. The second thing I wanted to comment on is the arena valve is in. Commercial refrigeration was here today. They anticipate the work will be done by next Monday, which means that they'll be able to start making ice, which will take 7 to 10 days. We did already inform Mesabi East Youth Hockey of this, and I let Lindsay know that if the timeline is shifted at all, we will communicate that with Mesabi East Youth Hockey. So those are the 2 things I wanted to touch on there. Thank you.
All right. Public Works, Kenny Snetzinger.
Just agenda items tonight.
Okay. EMS Director Olmsted.
September, we had 80 calls. Since October 2nd, the NREMT opened for recertification for our EMTs and paramedics licenses. We have 12 that need to recertify this go round, and so far we have 6 of them completed. Last night, Cody attended the area directors meeting in Moose Lake. He didn't have too much to report from that. And to touch on Becky's comment a little bit, so Ely does have a joint powers board, and right now they charge per capita for residents. So as you're probably aware, a lot of their residents, they don't have very many residents. A lot of the area comes and goes during the winter. They have boats and such. So they are looking into taxing district to the property versus per capita. I don't know, it's like $5 and something per person that is into the ambulance fund. So they're kind of trying to change it to the taxing district. And then I just have a
Okay, thank you. City Attorney?
Just what's on the agenda, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Reports from Counselor Pop,
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Counselor Kramer,
Nothing tonight.
Counselor Grams.
I attended the library board meeting the other week, but I see she has a item on the agenda, so nothing else.
And Counselor Beauregard.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about Snowmobile Club. They did the bridge redecking on Partridge River the other weekend. We had a good turnout. There was close to 40 volunteers out there throughout the whole day. I want to thank the volunteers that came out and the city and the city workers that helped make all that happen.
Thank you. And I don't have anything to add tonight. Going to old business, emergency medical services, mechanic policy. Last meeting, we directed EMS Director Olmsted and Public Works Director Snetzinger, City Administrator Lammy to come up with something. And I'm taking that this is what you guys came up with as a policy.
Correct.
And you want me to read it, Becky? Okay. Has everybody had a chance to look it over? Any concerns? Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Counselor Beauregard. Is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Counselor Kramer. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 11-1, pay request for number 26 from Gritter Construction in the amount of $180,180 for the wastewater treatment facility. This is for the ongoing work at wastewater treatment. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Counselor Grams. Is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Counselor Kramer. Is there any further discussion?
I guess, Mayor, the only thought I would have, it seems like it's been an awful long time since Brian's been at any of the meetings. I know we pay considerable dollars for our engineering firm to be here. I don't know if that's concerning to anybody or we used to get an update more than what Jake would give us, and as it's coming to a close here, I guess it would be good to get a report from the engineering, and what everybody else's thought is on that.
And to be completely transparent, he does ask me every time if he thinks it's necessary that I'm there, and I usually tell him no,
No.
especially if I know Jake's gonna be at the meeting. I can
Okay.
definitely let him know that you'd like to have him at the next meeting.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Uh, 11-2 Iron Range Historical Society, Rich Soderberg, regarding Long-Ear Drill Site.
Howdy.
Hi.
It's my understanding that the Long-Ear Drill Site initially was started by the East Range Historical Society, which became the Iron Range Historical Society. I've been on it only, 5 years now, and I know that every once in a while work is needed out there. So in the past, because my parents lived right across from your former mayor, I would just walk across the street, hey, this needs to be done, he'd say, take care of it. And I was okay with that because I was visiting my mom's house at least once a month anyway, while she lived in town here. And so what I'm curious about is what is our responsibilities? Because we see right now that painting work needs to be done on it. We're fine with paying for the paint, we're fine with doing all the labor. What's our relationship gonna be?
So-
responsibilities. I'm inquiring, I'm not forcing anything.
I can add a little bit of historical context, and Kenny can correct me where I'm wrong. Historically, we used to receive from the Longyear family monies to maintain the site out there. The city owns the lease for the property, it's leased. The city also owns the right-of-way for the railroad crossing. So both of those pieces of legal documentation are in the city's name. The money we received started off as more than enough to cover it, and throughout the years it's dwindled, and we haven't received anything for several years at this point from the Longyear family for maintenance of that site specifically. The city does have insurance coverage for volunteers. So if you choose to have the Iron Range Historical Society maintain the property, anything that would happen is covered under the city's insurance because you do have insurance coverage for volunteers.
Okay, so from our perspective, we're fine with helping out there, taking care of things as best we can. And then if we ever needed anything major, I think that's when we would come forward to you guys. I mean, are we okay with that?
You certainly can ask whether we can provide those
Right,
services.
you may not be able to provide.
Right.
I understand that. I'm fine with that. And then with the new road, I think that's what they're gonna do, repave that road, so,
Well, they replace the culverts this year on it.
yeah,
Next year, they're gonna be doing bridge work.
okay, and then you're.
So probably 2023, late 23, 24, more than likely, it'll be paid.
Okay,
But it was getting to be, potholes were getting so dangerous that
yeah, I know.
they decided to do what they did, chew it up and put it back down. And
Okay.
If this is something the council would like to pursue, to have the Iron Range Historical Society maintain the site and then request assistance from the city if something big was needed, I know that Kenny would, I don't want to say happily provide that assistance, it would depend on what it is. But we might want to put together a memorandum of understanding between the two, just so we can be clear as to these are what the expectations are, the city will provide these things, the Iron Range Historical Society will provide that. If you're comfortable, I can definitely pursue that.
Becky, do you know if we still have a contact number for the Longyear family that we used to receive funds from?
Not to my knowledge.
Kenny, you're not aware of
We
anything?
had that one time, but I don't know.
Okay.
We can check into that.
Because I know you guys still plow out there and turn around a lot.
Yeah, we plow and Public Works will go out there and kind of get a report of like trees down or anything like that, but as far as like day-to-day mowing, we didn't have the financial resources, nor do we have the manpower anymore, but
Right.
that was more back in the days of the 80-hour program, when they had 20 students working in the summer. Now, we kind of just focused on what we came in town and our golf course. So,
And Jim Kepke said that he's been mowing out there.
he has,
And, which is fine.
yeah, we appreciate that.
So we're willing to put in the time and the money and whatnot, and if it's anything big, we'll come to you.
No.
Direct me to.
Yeah, if you could, please.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
for your
you.
efforts out there.
Okay, we need a motion for Becky to draft a memorandum of understanding for the volunteers to do work out at the Longyear drill site. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Counselor Pop. Is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Counselor Beauregard. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 11-3, Tony Campo regarding rates at Patriots Way.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I sent a letter. Did everybody get the letter, my request? So I guess I'm just here to discuss that and answer any questions you might have or plead my case.
Go ahead.
Okay. My name's Tony Campo and I live on, or I have a lot on Patriots Way, hope to live there soon. have been talking with some other lot owners who do not have permanent structures, and have come up with a fee schedule that we think we would like you to consider for seasonal residents. Some items to consider is that most of the lots on Patriots Way, or our lots, are only used 24 to 30 days a year. The water usage is very minimal. There's no dishwashers, washing machines, lawn watering, or any other large water consuming activity. Very little garbage is created during our short stays. Lots are not used at all, like 6 months out of the year. The infrastructure was already there. There was no taps that needed to be done or sewer lines that needed to be tied into. I do understand that the city must maintain the water and sewer lines, and that the city has employee costs and the city has billing costs. So with all that to consider, originally I was thinking 30 days worth of use would be 1 month, so like $122 would be a fair price. But then I thought, you know, if everybody has to work year round, so maybe if we went with $20 a month, that would end up being $240 a year. And I think that would be fair to the seasonal lot owners and to the city. And with that being said, I do look forward to being a permanent resident in the future. If you have any questions, I could answer them.
Yeah, you wanna go?
I included in the packet some information for the council to consider when they were reviewing this documentation. Annual costs, and they wanted to clarify that these are estimates only. St. Louis County charges us an $85 annual refuse fee per property, so that's regardless of if someone is living there or not. Water operations per property total to about $570. Wastewater operations per property total to about $680. Sanitation contractor, again, he charges per household regardless of if someone is there or not. That is $163 per year. The debt service, so that's the debt you're paying for projects, either at the the water plant, in-ground, that kind of thing. For water is $17, and for wastewater is $316. And the wastewater debt service does not include the total of the wastewater treatment facility. So that totals an annual cost of operations for the enterprise services, not including the recycle center, of $1,831 per year. Without operations, it's $581. So we know that our current water rate does not make up our current operation cost, so that's a deficit of $370. So we're not covering our cost by about $370 per household per year. The current water off rate, depending on how you look at it, if you count some operations or no operations, it's either a positive of $319, but we know that there's operational costs even if the water is off. So it could be a deficit of up to $931. The proposed rate of $20 per month is a deficit in operation of between $341 and $1,591 per year per household out there. And there are 4 properties that would utilize this reduced rate. A couple other things I wanted to mention is every property out there that has a camper on it is supposed to have submitted a camping unit permit to the city. We have not received any such permit from any camper out there. They also have a firm timeline that each of those properties need to maintain that camping permit. So the 4 properties we're discussing today that currently have a camping unit on there, by the end of next year, the end of 23, are required to have a permanent residential structure slab in ground. And then by the end of 24, are supposed to have completed construction of a permanent residential structure. And I'm not entirely sure if permits have been submitted for those structures or not. I did not have an opportunity to view those permits prior to this meeting.
So Tony, were you aware of all of this?
No, I was not aware of a camper permit or a residential structure that had to be built in 4 years. I think that's some information that probably needs to get out to the 4 lot owners for sure.
It was an ordinance that was passed in 2007.
Long before my time. Okay.
So when you purchased the property, none of this information was given to you?
No, it was not. So I don't know if you would grace us with letting everybody know that now and giving them 4 years from this day forward, now that they know that, unless Becky, you've told others, I don't know, if you have or not, but I think that would be a surprise to most.
Yep, unfortunately, we don't have the capacity to notify of each property owner of all the ordinances in the city. It's each property owner's responsibility to know those ordinances and follow them.
So the two timelines you talked about for construction and a slab, is that when they purchased the property, a timeline started when you guys
Yep.
bought the property
Yep,
from,
so-
is it MP land?
Yep, the
Right.
ordinance reads, during the 4-year camping permitted time period, the following benchmarks must be attained starting from the effective date of the permit for a camping unit. So the end of the 3rd year, complete construction of slab on foundation for permitted residential structure. Because a majority of the permits already have, or all of the 4 lots we're talking about, already have permitted water and sewer service lines to them, which is the end of the 2nd year requirement. So that means we're on the end of the 3rd year requirement for all 4 of those properties.
And that wouldn't include a garage, so it needs to be
It
residential.
needs to be a residential slab.
And if that doesn't happen by that time frame, what happens to the property?
It's a violation of the zoning regulations as amended from time to time. I don't know if this specific ordinance is a misdemeanor, or if it's a fine structure, I'm not entirely sure. We would obviously, when we got to that point, we would have Matt look into that and either issue tickets or.
So Becky, you said we need to get camping permits, so you have like a camping permit that we can apply for?
Yep,
Okay.
would you like that?
Yes, I would. And then 4 years from that camping permit, we have to build a structure, is what you read?
It's the end of the 4th year, so a lot of these already have completed the 2nd year. So end of 2nd year, completed installation of permitted water and sewer service lines. So now we're into end of 3rd year. So
I thought
even
you
if,
had said after we got a camping permit, that
yep,
was happening.
that's what earlier in the ordinance it says, but it also indicates that even if it's not your specific camping permit, if these steps have already been completed, that's the step you need to do.
So I'm guessing if the reason it was worded that way is if somebody purchased that property, put a camper out, and you purchased that property from them.
Right, sure.
The
yeah.
ball already
It's
started
already rolling.
Yeah.
rolling when that original owner purchased the property.
That makes sense. So I guess we have other things to talk about too then. Are we gonna force this issue and make a bunch of people put slabs in the ground this fall, or where are we gonna go from here?
Yep, we would consider it end of 3rd year, so next year, by the end of next year, slabs would need to be in.
Okay.
Becky, with the calculated deficit, is that with our current rates, or is that?
That's at 122.
So Tony, you use the water during the summer months.
Yeah. Pretty much every weekend, or 3 weekends a month.
And just thinking out loud, so obviously, we have no control, we're already using $20 just in what we're having to pay the county and what we have to pay the garbage contractor
Right.
to, whether you live there or not, or put a bag out or not, so that's $20. And then we do have the water off rate for seasonal people. Becky?
Yep, so those are for snowbirds that go, for example, go to Arizona in the winter, they pay the $75, which is the same structure that was proposed to the Patriots homeowners, or
Okay.
camp owners.
So if it was, 6 on, 6 off, whatever, so you would need to pay minimum that $75 for the months that you would be out there, and then do they have to come in and ask for a seasonal rate then?
So how it happens is for seasonal rates, we turn off at the curb stop. So we send our public utilities department, when they request, the snowbirds leaving this time of year, if they were to come in, we'd go and we'd turn the curb stop off at the curb. That fee is $70 as long as it's not in the winter months. And then in the spring, when they come back, it's an additional $70 to get it turned back
And then there's a $75 monthly fee.
Yeah, the monthly.
Yep,
fee.
for all
While they're
Still,
gone.
even
Yep.
though it's off.
Yep.
Correct, yeah.
Do you know if, well, you personally, do you shut yours off during the winter when you're gone? Do you
I have
utilize
not, but
that?
I
Okay.
definitely could. I know where the curb stop is, and I could shut it off. Or does the city have to?
The
City
city
has
has,
to
that's
do
city
it.
property, yep.
Because the problem I have, Tony, is we have already in place for people that go south for the winter, and they're charged accordingly. I don't know how we would make the exception out there when it was pretty much written into this in the first place. Whether you got that information or not, and why you didn't get it, that I don't know. I don't know if that was part of Minnesota Power when they sold those lots or leased those lots. Or is that their responsibility to let you know those
I think
things?
so.
You know, and I don't know whether you bought it directly from Minnesota Power or not. That's none of my business. But I would think that when you purchased it, whoever should have let you know some of these things that had to be taken care of on a timely basis.
Right, might have made a big difference in, you know.
Exactly. Whether
Especially if I would have known before now when interest rates were 2.5% 3 months ago, and now they're 6.5%. I would have jumped on, you know, building sooner if I would have known that I was gonna get pressured into putting a slab on the ground next year.
Well, yeah, that was my thought too, is just with all the snowbirds that we have here that go south, is that gonna start a whole trend? And we're already in a deficit for our water, sewer, garbage, and then is everyone gonna be requesting that, you know, they get a lower rate because they're not here very much, or they only have a single person in their house, not a family of 8, or, you know, it just seems
Right.
like it could just snowball.
And that was why I worded it with a lot without a
Right,
permanent
yep.
structure, because that way it takes all that away. Because
Out of the
even if you're a
equation.
snowbird, you can come back in February and just walk in your house, turn on water. You know, where we don't have that option, you know, when we go home the last time in the fall here, we don't come back till spring.
Yep.
There really isn't much of a choice there.
Well, there is. We'd love you to build and become part of the community year round.
Yes.
Well, if I'm hearing this right, basically the best that we could do for you would be 6 months at the normal rate, $122 a month, and 6 months at the snowbird rate, is that?
Yep, whichever months you requested on would be the full rate, and then if you requested the water off, we'd turn it off at the curb stop, and then that would be the reduced rate.
So it wouldn't necessarily have to be 6 months. If he's here for 3
Yeah.
months in the summer,
Yep.
you'd be paying the 122 or whatever rate that we set it at for next year. And you could request to have it shut off when you leave in the fall, and you'd pay the 70 shut-off fee and then the $75 a month. Because our costs are, you know, first of all, we put that infrastructure in there. And so we have a debt service to pay off, obviously. And then the other problem for us as a city council is how do we separate you out from the other residents that are leaving for the winter too?
It's tough when you don't have water meters. I mean, that would make everything a whole lot more fair
Yes.
for everyone, for snowbirds and,
Yeah.
you know, the family of 6 would be paying what they should, and the lonely grandma that lives by herself would be paying what she should, instead of everybody paying, you know, the flat rate. But I've worked for a city, and I know what putting 400 meters in is like. I did it one year, so it's a big expense.
It is, yes, and it's been discussed in the past.
Mhm.
So. Anybody else from the council? Have anything? So, anybody want to make a motion on how you want to deal with this?
is? I mean, we're not deviating from.
No,
what we're
as long-
doing
if
for
we- if we
smokers.
aren't
I mean,
deviating-
That's just a question.
You
You-
wouldn't necessarily have to do anything.
Yeah, you typically, when you receive a request, though, you want to address it in some
Okay.
way. So either you want to approve or deny the request.
So I guess I would need to make a motion that we deny the request to drop the charge down to $20 a month, unfortunately.
Is that a motion, Dan?
Yes.
Is there support? I'll support it. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Do you want some kind of, letter that outlines what we told you, especially about the construction
I think
timelines
that
or
would be a
something
good
to
idea.
just
I mean, I
recap
heard it,
a
so I
response?
understand, but I think it would be.
I'll include the permits with it
Yeah,
as well.
and then, I don't know, I mean, you have your city attorney here, and I don't know if he would know or not, but does anybody know what that ticket would cost if you didn't bill?
Administrative tickets are, subject to council sets the fees for that. I'm not sure if it's an administrative ticket or if it's a misdemeanor
Okay.
crime. That, I would have to look into the ordinance more. I can definitely include that in the letter.
Because I'm just thinking out loud that if, you know, a person had to wait a year or two for interest rates to kind of settle back down.
The other thing you can do, if a homeowner is in that, or property owner is in that situation, you can request an exemption from the city council.
Oh,
The city
okay.
council can pass an ordinance exempting it XYZ property for the term of
For
1
an
year.
extension or
Yep.
something.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I would appreciate that. I think that would be fair.
Would each property owner would have to come and ask for
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Individually.
Individually.
Yep.
Okay.
Or write a letter if they weren't able to make the council meeting.
Is he gonna have to apply for a snowbird rate now, or what's the status of that?
Yep, so if the water on all 4 of these properties is currently on, and so if any of them want to have that reduced rate, they would need to contact our office. They can do so by phone or by email, or they can come in and we will go shut the water off at the curb.
I'll shoot you an email then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 11.4. Resolution 2022-023, requesting to participate in the 2023 St. Louis County Crack Sealing Program.
So, St. Louis County in the past has never asked us for a resolution of support. We will tell you that we've already applied for it, so we sure do hope that you pass it tonight. So, this is just a program we participate in. St. Louis County hires a contractor, or they hire a contractor, and they just do whatever crack sealing Kenny has indicated he wants done. So.
Is this a grant program or a?
No, we pay for it, but it's at a reduced rate than we could get ourselves. So, they offer it to all communities across the entirety of St. Louis County. So.
Just put everybody on a pool, so the more people that participate, the lower rate we get. And from the comparisons I've done, hiring a private contractor to do it versus jumping on this program, their cost per mile of crack sealing is cheaper to jump on a county pool.
So what do we have in the budget? I mean, obviously, we wouldn't be able to do the whole city, all the streets.
In the budget that you guys passed, my line item 402, I had earmarked 25,000 of that for crack sealing. So I'm looking at, it's like 3.5 miles of crack sealing to do in one. Could be roughly 5 streets, or partial streets, depending on whether they have a reason overlay.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Counselor Beauregard. Is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Counselor Grams. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next one is Resolution 2022-024. This is an application for the Blandin Foundation Rural Leadership Boost Grant.
This is the application, Sue had been talking about $55,000 to do a few remodeling projects in the library. She did have a short turnaround, so again, this is one that was already applied for, so we sure do hope to pass it.
She gave us a tour when I went to the last library board meeting and told us a lot of her ideas and stuff. And she's really making some good improvements for people of all ages in there. It's not just geared towards your teens or towards the senior citizens. She's got a lot of good ideas.
And it's not a match grant, so it's pure, they would just give us $55,000 cash. Again, this grant specifically was a really tight turnaround, and we needed to be invited to apply for it. So Sue was invited as part of the Blandon project to apply for this grant, and she had like a week, less than a week to apply for it. So she did a really, really good job about getting that grant back in and getting her ideas on paper.
Are these designs meant to go in the relatively the same areas of the library then?
So the technology space is what is currently where the computers are, and then the other space is where, in like the middle section where the circulation desk is, that'll kind of be reframed a little bit. The smaller round tables on the bottom, those will be like cafe height tables. She's also planning on putting some taller tables against the windows with internet hookups and that kind of thing for people to work from the library if they're able to.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve resolution 2022-024?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Counselor Kramer. Is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Counselor Beauregard. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Eleven six, Emergency Medical Services Billing Company Proposal.
So Dan, Mel, and I met with Transmedic. You can see that there's quite a bit of information in your packet regarding our meeting with them, our current process, the potential new projects, some positives and negatives. I don't know that we're looking for approval to go to this new company tonight, but it is definitely something we wanted to discuss. I know that during the conversation we had with Transmedic, it sounded like they do a lot of innovative things to capture more money. They have a really great success rate of improving recouped costs from Medicare and Medicaid patients, which we know that they're the primary write-offs we have for the ambulance billing services. However, with that comes an increased workload to City Hall staff. Mel and I have discussed this. There are a few things that she could take on as part of that. The Transmedic really pushes the revenue recapture system, which is utilized by the state of Minnesota, meaning that if Dan had an ambulance run and he was on private insurance didn't pay for all of it, we then bill Dan individually. We then submit that to revenue recapture of the state, and if Dan gets a tax refund, that portion comes back to the city before it goes to him. So those types of programs are really boost the income of the ambulance, but that also then burdens city staff because we have to manage all of that program. What I've heard from other entities is it's a really, really tight timeline. So I know that Mel offered to help with work, and I think that would be a great focus for that. But there is concern about the other increased work. Right now, Fairview does one deposit in the city's account. This system would do multiple per day. And so when we talk about what that looks like for Betsy entering those transactions, one a month versus 2 per day is a lot more work. And then we also look at balancing. So when we go from 250 to 300 transactions a month, that's a lot more we're talking about when it comes to reconciling those accounts at the end of each month. It's up to the council as far as which direction you want to take. If we do move towards this, obviously it will take some onboarding, understanding exactly what that workload will look like. It's possible the city, meaning either Mel or myself, will come back to you with some additional requests if the workload does end up being significantly more. If it doesn't, that's phenomenal. I mean, then it's purely additional revenue for the city. So, but I did want to lay those concerns out, and I don't know, Mel, if you had anything to add.
No, not really. I was just looking, when we started doing these tax have some district meetings and you start really looking at what we're writing up, and trying to recapture some more of that. I mean, this year so far, we've written off $747,219. Last year was $1,030,000. I mean, the year before was $1.1 million. I mean, we write off a lot, so, I ended up talking to Chief Eric Jankel, and he's like, well, that's funny you mention that, because we're switching billing companies. This is who we're going with, and, they have a very, very good reputation. Buck McAlpin owns a company, he's a lobbyist for EMS. They do consulting work, which would all be included in this. And, they told Hibbing that they would probably recapture more than $1 million more than they're getting now. I mean, it's chump change for us. They do 3,400 calls a year. But anything's better than writing up $1.1 million. So, and then come to find out, everyone's jumping ship, and I think we're the only ambulance service left with Fairview, so.
Are you locked into any kind of contract if we decide to go with them and
I
then
don't
we
think
realize?
so.
I haven't looked into it, but I believe we're monthly.
So you said we wouldn't have to make a decision tonight. Is there some more research that you or Mel would like to do on this?
I don't know that there's any additional research that, I think Mel's talked to the EMS sides of these departments that have switched, and I've talked to the financing side of the departments. EMS love it, and finance is like, it's great, but then there's these concerns, you know, so I think that we have a pretty good grasp on what it will look like. I didn't know if the council had any additional concerns. The primary concern I have bringing this to you is if we do switch and we do need additional help, that the council understands that there may be an additional fiscal burden with this, which may be covered by additional revenue. You know, so there may be that balancing act to play, and that we don't necessarily know what that'll look like going into this initially.
In my opinion, the sooner the better.
With the manual entry of all the additional transactions, has there been any investigation into trying to automate that or tying it into the finance system?
So I spoke with the city that had a lot of concern about that was Tower, and so they do 500 runs a year. They are BLS only. What she does is she does them at the end of 1 week, but remember they have half the runs we do. City of Virginia, same thing, that she said initially it was very overwhelming, but as long as they stayed on top of it, it was fine. But also remember, she has a fleet of accountants that work under
And Virginia does over 4,000 calls.
Exactly. So it's really, really hard to find a service that's comparable and a city staff that's comparable. Because Tower only has 1 employee, Virginia has 4 that work in the same, department. I don't know that there is a way to automate it, especially with Banyan, which is the system we use now, because it's based on Access rather than Excel, so it's really hard to import into it.
And I know, Mel, we didn't ask that, I didn't think of that question when we were talking to them, but I'm wondering if they would be willing to alter their system and maybe make 1 deposit a week rather
I
than.
did ask
You
them.
asked that.
Yep, and they
it
said
will
no.
not- They
Yeah.
won't change their.
Yep.
Yeah, so our payer mix is like 80% over 80% Medicare. So Medicare already comes to the city, so there'd be no change in that. So basically all we'd be seeing would be the insurance ones coming in. I do the billing every day, and very rarely you see someone that has the insurance, other than Medicare. Like, when we went ALS, I think our Medicare payer mix was above 80. I swear to God, it's more than that now. I mean, our population's aging, so.
Personally, I think we should at least give this a shot. I think if we can recover some of this money, I know it may not work or may be a burden for the city staff, but we will never know unless we try.
Oh, another thing I needed to add, I forget. So he's familiar, so right now, Essential Health is working on getting Cody and myself in for clinicals. We can get those done, and we can start this paramedic program that we've been working on before COVID, and then COVID hit. They also are very familiar with that kind of thing. I don't know if Fairview would be able to handle that sort of thing, process.
end of it going, it would help to offset your deficit that we're looking at.
Absolutely,
Because then
yes.
we would be
In our
doing,
downtime, if we can make house calls and include her in
Yep.
our payments, that would be huge. I'm trying.
We'll also support moving forward with this, but I would look into maybe doing some sort of integration to try to see if it's possible. I know there's a lot that can be done with access. And then we also talked about a new finance system
Yeah.
previously as well.
Yep. And so the new finance system is about 8 months out, so it would probably be middle of next year. The problem, so when we look at the difference between Banyan Data Systems, which is our current accounting software, versus Civic Systems, is Banyan Data Systems doesn't allow any integration. I was their first customer to use the bank reconciliation upload feature that they had, because I said, I'm not gonna, sit and manually enter 300 transactions a month. And so I find they have one coder on staff, and so I find that asking for anything from them is gonna be difficult. It may be beneficial for me I will definitely reach out to both Transmedic and Banyan to see if this is something that they can do, but I will also reach out to Civics to see if their upload system works a little bit better.
Yeah, whenever I hear the numbers that we write off over the last couple of years, I just can't believe that's how much we write off, so I think it's definitely worth a try. Definitely worth a try to go with someone new.
and one of the things that I was really surprised at, I thought we had a lot of Medicare, the percent of Medicare runs, and being this outfit is based in the cities, and a lot of the billing they do is for metro services, but they said like Egan is over 80%. There's so many retirement communities down there, so each service is looking at that same percent of Medicare, so it's not like this is anything new to them, so. And the fact that they do have ways to wiggle more out of Medicare was real encouraging.
So do we need to act on this tonight? Or would you
That's-
like the time to see about the contract that we're in now with?
Yep.
I hate to have us make a motion to go with somebody when we don't know where we're sitting on our contract that we're sitting in now.
So I will speak with both Banyan and Civic Systems regarding integration features. I will search out the Fairview contract, see if we have a term on that, and I will put this on the agenda for 10-4, or 10-24.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
And another comforting thing is the new outfit said they would pick up any accounts that were still open with Fairview, so they would just inherit that stuff and continue to pursue to make collections on it as they could, so.
So we need a motion just to table this or not?
Nah, I'll move it to the agenda by consensus, so.
Okay. 11.7 is Hoyt Lakes Chamber of Commerce request for off-site bingo.
We just want to do a bingo event at the arena in conjunction with the Water Carnival is having a craft fair and burger fry, so then the chamber wanted to just host a bingo event down there during all those activities.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Counselor Pop, is there support? I'll support that. Any further discussion?
Do I need to abstain from this?
I don't think you do, but Sherry
I
does.
will.
Okay, just because Jim is the chief executive officer, okay. Just making sure.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
One. Aye.
Thank you, Sherry. And 11.8 we need to do is resolution 2022-025, the assessment of delinquent utility bills.
we had a public hearing just before this meeting. We received no comments. All of the council members and the city attorney received an updated draft. There was one name that came off of that list. And so I am recommending that you approve this resolution for those properties to be assessed to their county tax rolls.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Counselor Grams. Is there support?
I'll support it.
Supported by Counselor Pop. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Counselor Kramer. Is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Counselor Grams. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.